My name is Kelsey Brennebuck, and these are my co-hosts Nolan Behrens, Clark Pedette, and Daxton Esslinger. This is the Historians Podcast. On today's episode, we'll be going over advancements that came from the World Wars. To start off, we'll be going to Nolan.
Thank you, Kelsey. To start off, I'm going to talk about the biggest influence in World War I, the tanks. The first tank ever made was the British Mark I. It could only move 2 miles per hour, but moving fast was not its main purpose. The British Mark I's main purpose was to advance over the trenches. It also provided cover for people traveling into a no-man's land. In the end, though, the British had to make many changes to the British Mark I because it was slow and it broke down a lot. The British Mark IV was the most powerful tank in World War I. It was a heavy tank, which meant it was slow, but it could take a lot of damage before it got destroyed.
What were the trenches and how were they used?
Trench warfare is a type of warfare in which opposing forces attack, counterattack, and defend from a relatively permanent system of trenches dug into the ground. Trenches are usually 6 feet deep and hundreds of miles long. One main pro to trench warfare is that it will give you cover from flying bullets and debris. Some cons to trench warfare were that a lot of soldiers developed trench foot, and the Germans often would throw mustard gas into the Allies' trenches to try to gas them out.
To learn more about mustard gas, we'll be going to Daxton.
Mustard gas wasn't only one of the worst ways to force people out of the trenches in World War I, but it was also one of the worst ways to die in general. Mustard gas works by stripping away the mucus from your eyes, nose, and respiratory system. Some effects of mustard gas are eye irritation, temporary blindness, runny nose, cough, shortness of breath, and sinus pain. The digestive tract is also affected, resulting in abdominal pain, diarrhea, fever, and vomiting. The gas reacts quickly with water in the airways to form hydrochloric acid, swelling and blocking lung tissue, and causing suffocation. The most common way mustard gas would kill is by blistering the lungs, throat, if inhaled in large quantities. It is truly one of the worst ways to die during World War I.
Clark, could you tell us about medical advancements that came after World War I?
Some of the biggest medical advancements during World War I were the Thomas splint, mobile X-ray machines, antiseptics, blood transfusions, and blood banks. Blood transfusions during World War I were made possible by a trio of well-timed discoveries earlier in the century. That not all blood is the same, that sodium citrate could be used to stop clotting, and that it could be refrigerated. These breakthroughs made transfusion safer and allowed blood to be stored. The discoveries made during World War I using the blood transfusions are still used today in the medical field and elsewhere.
We will now move on from technology and medicine in World War I to the advancements of technology, weapons, machinery, and medicine that came after World War II.
Some weapons out on the front are killing machines, while others are less dangerous. For example, the Goliath tracked mine was mainly used against tanks. The Goliath tracked mine was a French-designed remote vehicle that could be controlled up to 2,000 feet away. It was run by a very long cord and mainly used by our soldiers. It could carry up to 150 pounds of explosives, which is enough to disable a tank. Another weapon being used out on the front was an STG-44, which is a German-made selective firing machine gun. It is a very versatile gun, and it has aided the German front immensely. The STG-44 shoots a big bullet chambered at 7.92 millimeters.
Most soldiers got around their bases and nearby areas by driving. The United States drove around in a variety of vehicles from the Chevrolet G506, which is a very large truck that either had a hardtop cover over the bed or just a raggedy old tarp. They also used the Studebaker US-6, which is an even larger truck to haul weapons and troops around if need be.
Another main source of transportation, especially for Germany, was the railroad system. The German-made GRB Class 52 steam locomotive, which is just one of the train types being used to haul the Jews towards certain death. Just a crazy fact is that the production of rail used for train tracks skyrocketed higher than ever before.
The Messerschmitt Bf-109 is a dogfighter plane developed and put into the air. It was created in 1939 by the Nazis. They were looking to make the smallest, most powerful dogfighting plane ever to be put in the air. They definitely succeeded with a good design. However, the Bf-109 was limited to short flights because their tiny design and powerful motor, they weren't able to hold much fuel.
Another crazy piece of machinery out there on the battlefront would be the Panzer. Hitler had this tank designed because he wanted to absolutely destroy the front. The Panzer was virtually indestructible. It shot crazy large rounds, could climb over any trench, and could go virtually anywhere. This makes it one of the best killing machines on the front to this day.
A medical advancement that resulted from World War II was the use of penicillin. Penicillin was developed in 1939. Prior to the use of antibiotics like penicillin, infectious disease was the leading cause of death. Another medical advancement was the use of metal plates to help heal fractures. German military medical services developed this technique, but it was also discovered by the Allies when captured German troops needed x-rays. Medical staff discovered that by using metal plates to help heal fractures, patients would heal at half the time. This technique is commonly used today worldwide.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode about advancements that came from World War I and World War II. Tune in next week to Historians Podcast to learn about the bombing of Hiroshima.